center field. Going back is Gonzalez. It is gone! Two-run home run by Schwarber. Stays put, and there's a high fly ball. Deep right field. Harper watches it fly.
And we are back for another episode of the Double Switch Podcast. It's March, which means that the Phillies will be playing baseball this month. Not just this like fake spring training, exhibition type stuff. Phillies games are back in March of 2025. Nothing really too crazy going on down in Clearwater. I know we're going to be down there pretty soon. Very excited for it. It's the only thing keeping me going at this point. But yeah, how are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good, man. I guess right now we're about, 4 days from being down there and enjoying some Phillies baseball in person. I need it like I need oxygen. I need to get in that outfield grass ASAP. It's my happy place, and I'm excited to see right now you got the young guys kind of getting their licks in, and it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some of the prospects, and what I'm really excited to see is some of the pitchers, and I think that is kind of what we'll talk about today. Phillies pitching staff. Johnny, I need you to fill in the blank on this. The Phillies pitching staff is the blank best pitching staff in baseball.
The number one, the best.
You think?
I do.
Okay. I won't argue against it very strongly. There's some good pitching staffs, but I think the idea there is that this staff that we've put together is an incredible balance of durability and talent. We have the real durable guys at the top, Wheeler, Nola. I think Sanchez is probably in that category too at this point. He's kind of has a rubber arm. You have some higher upside at the back. We saw what Ranger Suarez did in the first half of last year. We have Jesus Luzardo, who is the next, kind of the next guy to come into this rotation and kind of solidify the back end of it. So it's an interesting group. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the deepest group. We have some names after that are not as interesting, but 1 through 5, I think the staff might stack up against just about anybody in baseball.
I tend to agree, and I think a lot of us, the way we're looking at it right now is a few of these guys, if they just have a little bit better of a year, a couple guys that kind of didn't have the same type of years, then I think we're all thinking of one guy. The new guy, but that guy could be number 3.
Agreed.
So I'm excited. Let's dig into it.
Let's start at the top here. He is kind of a staple at this point. He's getting paid like he's one of the best pitchers in baseball because he is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's been one of the best pitchers since he got here. It's turning out to be arguably the best contract that we've ever seen handed to a Philly. Besides maybe the guy over at first base. But yeah, Zach Wheeler. Good man. He is so steady and he just goes about his business. There's a ton of stats I could kind of come out here with and say like, oh, he's great at this and he's great at this. Everybody knows that already. He's perhaps the least interesting person in this staff because he is boring and he's boringly good. He's an awesome playoff pitcher. He is steady as they come on the mound. I mean, he really doesn't get bothered by anything, and he's aging quite well. I want to say that he's kind of changed who he is as a pitcher. The velocity is perhaps not where it was at his peak, but the movement's gotten very good. He's an excellent ground ball pitcher. He doesn't struggle with home runs. Put him anywhere, and he's one of the top pitchers in baseball. He's a great guy to have at the top of the rotation at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think he's that guy the past 3-4 years that teams really don't want to face. Maybe the number one guy because no one sees the ball against Zach Wheeler. It's a beautiful thing as a Phillies fan because he makes teams look silly. And you're right, there's pretty much zero questions about Zach Wheeler. I think the one you ask is when does he start to kind of show his age? And he's the past 3 years, including the playoffs, he's been above 200 innings pitched. So is he going to be able to keep up that sort of workload?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm scrolling to the top here. I want to say this is his age 35 season. Actually, he's 34. This will be his age 35 season. He's going to turn 35. There's nothing that you can point to saying that, the decline's coming. I think he's just a smart pitcher. You look at some of the guys across the league that are aging very well into their late 30s. They're smart pitchers like Max Scherzer. They don't have the velocity they had, but they're finding ways to do it in just kind of mixing it up and relying on different things. I think that as Zach Wheeler kind of gets older, we're going to see more of a contact type pitcher, but I think it's going to be soft contact, and I think we're still going to be able to count on him for as long as he's here because he doesn't want to pitch until he's like 45. He has a clock at this point. He only wants 3 more years here in Philadelphia. He knows that his window is now, and he's going to want to take the ball every 5 days. And I'm glad he will be here to do that.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. I don't think we need to spend too much time on Wheels. If there is a sure thing in life, it's Zach Wheeler. But
Yes.
Josh, I do have a over under prediction for you based off of Zach's 2024 stats. Do
Let me
you
hear.
2.57 ERA in 2024 over or under in 2025?
3.57 in 2024.
What was that?
Oh no, I'm looking at Nola Savant page. Okay, 2.56. 2.57 last year.
2.57. Yeah. Yeah, he
I
really
think he'll be.
pushed for it.
I think he'll be a little over. I think he'll be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 3-1, but it's going to be like a really like unnoticeable 3-1, kind of like how last year he had or 2023 he had a 3-6, and it was like he was awesome. What do you mean? Sometimes it just gets a little higher than you think. So I'm going to go the over on that.
All right. I'm for the record, I have these down, so we'll come back to Josh's predictions at the end of the year.
Is this your? Are you trying to get back at me for just trivia time and you going 0-3 to start the season?
Yeah, for absolutely throttling me at trivia. I'm trying to make you get things wrong here.
Okay, moving on to number 2, Aaron Nola. And if you don't mind, Johnny, cue the music. All right, we're good. We only need the music for a second. Aaron Nola. If you are a Phillies fan, you probably barely remember a time when Aaron Nola was not in the Phillies rotation. He is currently 4th in Phillies history in strikeouts. He has 1,779. Who are the 3 people ahead of him? I'll give you 1 strike. You get 1 miss, but you don't get 2. You get 1 miss.
All right, so career strikeouts as a Philly, over 1,700, you said?
As a Philly, over 1,779 is the number.
Okay, well, Steve Carlton.
He's number 1 with 3,031.
Then it would be Cole Hamels.
He's number 3 with 1,844. So you need 2.
Okay, so yeah, there's still 2 above him.
There's 1 more above him. Aaron Nola's 4th, and you just named 2.
Gotcha.
You're missing number 2, and he is a he's a Hall of Famer, and he is obviously a Wall of Famer too.
Oh boy, I don't want to let this one slip between the cracks here.
He hasn't played in a while. He's like a really old Philly. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, would it be Kurt Schilling?
Kurt Schilling's number 6 with 1,554. Way older.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Can I get a second guess because it's old?
That was your 1 strike. You get 1 more guess.
Okay.
And he is also the leader in games played, innings pitched.
It's Robin Roberts.
It is, yes. Number 2, 1,871. Scores now 3-1. Well done.
All right.
Well done getting that win there.
Yeah.
For those curious, kind of rounding out, we have Schilling at 6. We have Zach Wheeler down at number 12 with 899.
Wow.
Very interesting list. I was stuck between that and strikeouts per 9 because it's like all recent Phillies, but the first one would have messed you up so bad because Vince Velasquez somehow has the highest strikeout per 9 among eligible pitchers in Phillies history. I don't know what the eligibility thing is.
What?
That is so crazy. I'll send you this page after.
I don't think that's right.
9.917. That's a lot of strikeouts. Nola's right behind him with 9.875.
I don't understand I guess, yeah, maybe 'cause he had less innings than a lot of the
Yeah,
really
I
good
don't know.
guys.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you definitely would have got that wrong. But all good. You are three. That's your first win. We are 3-1. I'm up
We go.
by 2. Aaron
New
Nola.
merch, new merch, by the way, gang.
Yes, Double Switch Podcast back for season. I don't even know,
4.
4 or 5, something like that. Aaron Nola is a lifelong Philly. He has been here since I was in my freshman year of high school or something stupid like that. We've
Yeah,
seen a
man.
lot of Aaron Nola because Aaron Nola pitches every 5 days, no matter what. Whether we want him to or not, he is going to go out there every 5 days. And he's going to give us just, it's always tantalizing. He always has, those awesome pitches mixed in. He makes a lot of mistakes. We know that. That's why he gives up so many home runs. The home runs lead to an inflated ERA, and the home runs are largely the reason that Aaron Nola is not considered an elite pitcher anymore like he used to be. With that being said, he's still very, very useful. He had a 3.57 ERA last year in 199 innings. Couldn't tell you the last time that he didn't go 30 starts in a season. I think he's actually the most durable pitcher in baseball at this point. Yeah, I'll throw that over to you. Where are you at on Aaron Nola? Because we get on here every year and we debate who is the real Aaron Nola. What should we expect?
No, I mid-year last year, I don't know if you remember, but I ended my debate with Aaron Nola. I'm not going to argue if he's an ace or whatever. He's our workhorse, and we've all seen the direction that starting pitching in particular, has taken in modern day baseball. Guys throw 5 innings, guys throw 4 innings in a start. Guys don't rarely get up to 25 games started. There's a lot of injuries. Aaron Nola, I'm pretty sure, has done at least 30 games in every season except for his first season where he came up in the midseason. That is so valuable. Most teams don't have that guy. Is he going to be a sub-3 guy? I don't think so. I've never really thought that's who he is. I see him as a guy that probably stays in the low 3 ERA. I think probably like a 3.3 is where I'd see Nola this year. And strikes a lot of guys out. He's going to let up his home runs, but he's going to pitch every week for us.
I've thought a lot about Aaron Nola, and I've come to the conclusion that we can clump him, Reese, and Bohm, and I'm thinking maybe Stotts here soon, into the same boat where they come up and they're incredible in some regard. Reese hit like 17 homers in like 50 games or something. Bohm almost won Rookie of the Year. He came in second. Aaron Nola finished third in Cy Young behind DeGrom and Scherzer. And unfortunately for them, that raised the bar for all of them. We all had sky-high expectations. I'm very guilty of it with Alec Bohm. You see the glimpses of what they can be. As soon as they come up, they do it. And they're forever trying to reach that benchmark again that is simply unattainable. They're like, the bar was set too high for them from the start. His value comes from his innings. It always has. I mean, his xERA last year was the 60th percentile. I think that's where he's at. I think he's better than 60% of major league starters. I think he's probably a 2 or 3. There's a lot of ugly in here. I mean, barrel rate at the 8th percentile. Velo is just gone for some reason. I don't know if it's intentional or if he's just not who he used to be in terms of that, but he's throwing 91 nowadays. He still has terrific movement. So it's not a huge deal. But yeah, the ace Aaron Nola debate, it's probably over. At this point, he is the guy that you count on every 5 days to keep you competitive. He's also he brings a lot of value just by going out there and saving the bullpen. In a rotation that has so many questions at the end in terms of health, there's nobody you would rather have at the front than Aaron Nola. I was also looking at this. Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, and I think what people kind of forget, I mean, we all look at kind of Nola from, I think when we get upset with him, we start to zone in on individual games and how things go, when we really should be looking at like his production through like long chunks of time and how important in a rotation now with Wheeler and Chris Sanchez, who frankly throw gas, and he's a change of pace arm too.
That's a good point too.
His stuff is very different his stuff's very different from Zach Wheeler, very different from Chris Sanchez. When a team has to see that on a second or third day, That messes with their timing. A lot of teams go for the same prototype of arm, the heavy throwing, the heavy slider. But if a team sees that 3 days in a row, they get used to it and they start to hit it better. He changes that.
The stat of the day for me is so obviously we know he has a home run problem. Last year, if he played all of his games at Citizens Bank Park, he would have given up 38 home runs, and that's the second highest number, which I don't quite understand because it's not like Citizens Bank Park's the second worst ballpark. I mean, yeah, I mean KC would have given up 23, Detroit 19, Boston 21. Like where are those home runs going? I don't really get that stat at all.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah, that might make more sense in 20 years when we look back at Aaron Nola's career and we have a more complete picture. But yeah, the home runs are always going to keep him from being just the nails guy that Zach Wheeler is, and that's okay. I mean, sometimes you got to just accept somebody for who they are. And Aaron Nola is durable, and he's consistently inconsistent, but he'll bring value at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think I know it's been a topic of conversation, but where does Nola slot in the rotation? We have a lot of lefties, and to keep Nola and Wheeler together could kind of be a disadvantage in a lot of series. So where do you see him? Is he your number 2? Is he your number 3? Is he lower?
Number 3.
Number 3? And
Yeah,
then I'm guessing I'm okay.
You know who's number 2.
I think I do, but
let's go to him right now. Who's number 2, Johnny?
I just got an over/under for you for Nola. It's just for the record books. We're gonna do the ERA again. We're gonna do 3.57, which you're already looking at. So you kind of already have a ballpark, I'm sure. North, do you have a guesstimate?
3.93.
Okay. That's a lot higher than I believe. I think it'll be 60 points lower than that, but
we'll see. That's what
we shall see. That's what
who's starting game 2, Johnny? I'll let you take it away with this one.
I think it's the man, the myth, Christopher Sanchez. I mean, if anyone watched him the other day in spring, he looks fantastic. The fastball and the sinker are up a tick. The changeup still has the same movement as it did last year, and he put together a fantastic season last year. On top of that, he has that mentality. He's a killer out in the mound. He attacks. He's competitive. I love the guy. I love what he's becoming, and I think he's going to have a massive season for us.
Yeah, he's an interesting arm because he takes like all the good parts of Nola, but he just improves on the bad parts. He threw 94.5 last year. He was hitting 98 in spring. He doesn't walk just about anybody. The whole rotation really doesn't walk anybody, which is nice. And the reason we can count on him is because he's an absolute ground ball machine. He is so hard to lift and put the ball in the air. 58% ground ball rate. For those, I mean, that number might not mean a lot to people, but that's in the 95th percentile. When you think of like the great ground ball pitchers, Framber Valdez, he's in that category. He's that good. And when you keep the ball on the ground, less bad things happen, and there's less, blow up games like Aaron Nola sometimes has. Every year he just throws harder, keeps all the good attributes. So it's like the stuff is improving every year, but he's building upon the foundation of what he has, and he just keeps getting better. He just keeps getting better. I don't know if it's going to stop.
Well, I think what's interesting is because I'm sure you remember back before when Chris Sanchez was kind of like viewed as a quadruple A player, where he was throwing a lot harder, but his command was not what it is now. And then the Phillies had him go down. He lowered his velocity a little bit, and he found his command. Now it seems like he's bringing it back up a tick. You think that has a similar effect, or you think he's at a place where it doesn't really matter?
I'm going to be honest. I missed all of that. I was zoning out. It's been a long day. Could you say that again?
Well, oh god damn. Remember
he lost his mechanics. He lost his mechanics a little bit. Was walking
because he went up in velocity, and then they came. Do you think now that he's throwing harder again, it will affect his command?
No, I don't. I think that was I think that was the first run that Christopher Sanchez had with the big league staff working with him. I think that they know him a lot more now, and he knows them a lot more now. And I think that any mechanical adjustments are just going to happen quicker now for him.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And the one concern I was thinking about earlier today is, do righties make an adjustment on him? But then I was like, I looked at some of the splits, like with his changeup. That changeup really makes him unpredictable for righties. Because if he drops that thing on you first pitch and you think you're ambushing a fastball, you're 0-1. And then he has the sinker, the slider, the fastball, changeup, all at his disposal. So
Dude,
I personally don't
it
think.
sounds like, you know who it sounds like you're describing, and man, we might get made fun of for this, but dude, that sounds like Tariq Skubal, doesn't it, with the changeup and the control?
Christopher Sanchez, NL Cy Young, lock it in.
So
Lock it in.
Nola gave up 30 homers last year. Sanchez gave up 12, and that's the difference. That's why Sanchez is starting game 2. It's that simple, because that's 18. That's at least 18 runs there that Sanchez is not going to give up.
Yeah. I mean, you got to consider the innings difference a little bit, but even if you did that, it wouldn't not make that difference. They have a 45 inning difference, so that doesn't.
181 innings last year. That's 18 less than Nola.
Oh, I'm looking at regular season numbers. Oh no, you're right. 181.2.
Yeah, 181. Yeah, this is a very interesting pitcher. If you're about to ask me the ERA, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to go with 2.97.
I was not going to ask you that.
Oh man, I was thinking about that for like 5 minutes. All right, what do you got?
I got strikeouts, 153. Over or under?
Over. 100% over. Give me the over.
Career high in strikeouts after quite the year for him. All right.
I think he gets back to this 2023 K per nines. What is that, like 8.9? I think it's a fair guess.
All right, do you have a total? If you want, just for, you don't have to.
174.
All right. All right, that brings us to
all
our.
Right, moving on. Number 4.
Got the lefty gauntlet now.
Take your pick.
I'm going to say it's going to be Ranger Suarez, just out of plain respect. He's been on the team longer, and he's trusted.
Ranger Suarez, a tale of two cities. Another interesting guy. I think he also can fit into the Nola Bohm Hoskins territory, where he was just a lights out reliever when he came up. And we think that, Ranger Suarez can be that. Ranger Suarez is probably not that. What Ranger Suarez is a guy who finds periods of effectiveness. He's very, very cool out there on the mound. Not the best stuff. Really has never been kind of a strikeout guy, but he's had great control, and he knows how to use his stuff, which is, it's worth something in modern baseball. I think that, he's that guy that you just plug into the middle of the rotation and you don't really worry about. Those guys, like I said, are valuable. The biggest question is going to be, how many effective innings can Ranger Suarez give us? Just as a reminder, last year, pre-All-Star break, he had this is 2023, so let me go 2024. He had a 2.76 ERA, and we thought he was going to win the Cy Young. And in the second half, he had a 5.65, and we were wondering what the heck happened. Yeah, that wasn't fun. But, I think that he'll be a little more consistent this year. Maybe us understanding that Ranger's only capable of so much in terms of workload will help us pace him a little better. And, we know that come October, we want Ranger Suarez to be a little more fresh because, like I said, he's an awesome person to throw out there in a playoff game, given that he kind of has the stomach for it. So, going to be a closely monitored pitcher throughout the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like you said, definitely a tale of two seasons. I mean, the beginning, I mean, we were all fooled. We all thought it was a Cy Young season. It was unbelievable. But it kind of proved exactly what you said, that he really isn't the type of guy to get past 150 innings pitched, and the final 50 aren't usually very productive, I guess is the word, good. So I think the Phillies would be smart to kind of take a different approach with him. I think everyone's eyeing the Andrew Painter late call-up, and I think Ranger Suarez is probably the perfect guy to slide to the bullpen when Andrew Painter comes into town. Because if Ranger doesn't have that fresh arm and he doesn't have that command, his stuff isn't good enough. We learned that he's not a guy that can get by on velocity or pure stuff. He needs to locate. To locate, what we've seen the past couple of years, he needs to keep that back healthy, and we got to probably lower his innings. And he probably needs to be in that 125 innings pitched range when it comes time for playoffs. So I think he's the guy we're going to be swinging to the bullpen.
Yeah, that, or we take a page from the Dodgers book and we do a couple phantom IL stints for Ranger. But either way, yeah, I think that what we did last April probably was a little aggressive. I think that sure, it's great to come out in April and get off to a strong start, but this is a team that does need to be thinking down the road, October. And just because we have 5 healthy guys to start the season doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case. So yeah, kind of put on the kid gloves with Ranger and closely monitor him. It's going to be interesting too because he's a free agent and he's obviously going to want to pitch as much as he can to build that value. So that might be an ongoing push and pull with the Phillies organization. But yeah, I think that he's consistent, and I think he'll be useful this year. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about him on a free agency year. He probably is going to want to prove that he is not a first half only kind of guy. He's going to want to prove that he can perform in the second half, so he can get up to that 20 million plus threshold as a free agent. Because if he kind of shows what he did last year, this year, then you might lose out on a couple tens of millions of dollars. So Ranger might be the most interesting guy to watch this year because I think he's the guy that is being slept on the most. I think everyone is very discouraged by his second half, but he still has that upside. We just can't forget it.
Yeah, he's going to be the most interesting, or this last guy is going to be the most interesting.
But before you do
Jesus
that,
Luzardo.
I'm gonna do the over/under of 27 games started in 2025.
Under. I'm going to say 23.
All right, 23 it is.
Yeah, and last but not least here, Jesus Luzardo, who we weren't expecting to talk about because he came over in a trade this offseason. Didn't see it coming. Didn't even really know that, the Marlins were willing to trade him because he was pretty terrible last year, if we're being completely honest. He had a 5 ERA, under strikeout per 9, dealt with elbow problems, thought he might need Tommy John surgery. It was just a lost season. But if we're looking farther back, there was a point where Jesus Luzardo was probably like a top 20 arm in baseball. I mean, 178 innings at 3.5 ERA in 2023, 208 strikeouts in 178 innings shows that, he's pretty monstrous stuff. The stuff's not a question mark. It's just how often is he going to be able to get out there to showcase that stuff. 178 innings is his career high. Other than that, I mean, it's 100 innings, 66 innings. He's only 27, which, he's still young. He still has time to right the ship in terms of injury history. But yeah, it's not the prettiest career so far in terms of durability. He's an upside play, and Dave Dombrowski knows that. We went with the boring floor play in Taiwan Walker. We were hoping he could stabilize the back of the rotation. It didn't work. We were looking for answers all last season. So why not roll the dice on somebody who, if it works out, you're looking at a potential like game 2 caliber starter. I'm not saying he's going to start game 2, but he can be that.
We've seen it. We've seen his stuff, so it's in there.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to point out in terms of like numbers I'm looking at. I think it's just health. I think it's literally a question of, is he healthy? And based off of what we saw last week, he looks healthy. He looked good.
Yeah, I think it's about. I'm sure he's healthy now. He's said he is, but it's gonna be about staying healthy. But the way I see it, you kind of touched on it, but we're hedging our bet with Ranger Suarez pretty much. This is kind of pretty much the perfect situation where if Luzardo comes out and he has a fantastic year, looks like a number 2, number 3 starter for us, then we don't have to spend big on Ranger Suarez and bring him back. But if he looks bad, then we can reverse course and re-sign Ranger. It puts us in a really good spot either way.
Yeah. And when you just compile pitchers like this, like the odds of you having just 4 healthy, good starting pitchers come October just increases. I mean, because that's 5
Exactly.
guys there where we're comfortable if they start a playoff game. And yeah, I even think we should touch upon 6 too. I don't want to go into like the depth options in this podcast.
Yeah, but before you go into 6, I think it's just not only do we have like 4 quality options, does it up the chances of that, but it kind of gives us something we haven't had in the playoffs before, where we could kind of rearrange our rotation based off of who we're playing, because now we kind of have a different like selection of studs. While before it just kind of always had to be Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. Now we could say we play a team lefty heavy, really struggling against righties. We can kind of switch it around. A lot of those guys are interchangeable 2 through 4.
It's a good point too. I wasn't really thinking about that, but yeah, if we do have a team that has a lot of lefty mashers, I mean, we have arms to throw at them, and we don't even really need Aaron Nola. But it's a very versatile group. It brings a lot to the table. And yeah, like I was going to say, number 6, Andrew Painter. Nothing really crazy to say here, but he is worth mentioning because he's going to be a factor at some point. We don't know when. We don't know what the situation's going to be. If I had to guess, it's going to be midsummer. I'm not expecting like a Paul Skeens outcome for Andrew Painter. I think that's unreasonable. Paul Skeens was like the greatest rookie of all time. But I think that he's going to be effective wherever he pitches this year, whether that's AAA, whether that's in, the playoffs, whether that's in, just a normal July game. The stuff is plenty good enough to get by. You kind of see that sometimes where young pitchers come up and they're just nasty enough to make it work. I think it's going to be kind of like a taste or put your feet in the water for the first time for Andrew Painter when, like you said, we have all these options. We have 5 guys that we can count on. Now's the time for Andrew Painter to learn and grow. And come next season, if we don't have Ranger Suarez to slide into the number 4 spot, Andrew Painter already has some experience. So very interesting to see how they treat him, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we've been looking forward to it since he got drafted. I don't think I've been anticipating it forever. So it'll be finally like wonderful to see him out there in Citizens Bank Park, see him pitching in front of the Philly faithful. And I think that the big question for him, over under 75 innings pitched in the big leagues this year.
Under.
Yeah, where do you think they're going to keep him at?
I just think he's going to come up in maybe like July or August and just have a bunch of 4 or 5 inning starts. I just don't think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be boring, is what it's going to be.
Even at that rate, he could get pretty close to 75.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking playoffs, maybe. But I think it's probably going to be like 12 to 15 starts of 5 innings. So, yeah, it probably puts us a little under that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I had one question. Where are you going to be for Luzardo? I'm not going to use his 2024 totals. Innings pitched over under 110.
Over.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do you want a specific number? Or are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Yeah, that's the pitching staff. Don't feel like talking about Taijuan Walker. No offense.
Nope. We're good.
Don't feel like talking about anybody else. That's kind of the core we're going to be watching. Other guys will mix in, and that's just how the season goes. But that's going to be the group that we're expecting to get us there, and eventually get us, through October. It's a fun group. It's a group that I think that is probably the best it's been in a really long time. It's a really good pitching staff, and yeah, just looking forward to it. You got anything else?
No, that's all. I'm excited to watch the Stellar Six this year. And
oh God, are you trying to get that going? You're trying to start something, aren't you?
Yeah. I just started something.
All right.
But that's all I got, man.
That's a good note to end on. As always, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back to talk to you soon.
Go Phils.